$54 million is now available for communities to boost food and yard waste recycling, plus helping Californians recover from disasters following a string of severe storms, and implementation updates on new laws to move California to a circular economy. CalRecycle's monthly public meeting starts now.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us for CalRecycle's February 2023 public meeting. This meeting is for Californians by Californians as we work together to protect our communities and we fight climate change. Let's watch a quick reminder before diving in.
El idioma no debe ser una barrera cuando se trata de proteger nuestro aire, nuestra agua y tierra. CalRecycle está transmitiendo simultáneamente esta junta pública en español e inglés. Puede encontrar el enlace en línea en español e inglés en la parte superior de nuestra página web calrecycle.ca.gov. Language shouldn't be a barrier when it comes to protecting our air, water, and land. CalRecycle is simulcasting this meeting in English and Spanish. Click the public meeting banner at the top of calrecycle.ca.gov for a link to our webcasts in both English and Spanish.
Our first agenda item today is the Director's Report. Director Rachel Mackey-Wagner joins us now with some important updates. Good morning, Rachel.
Good morning, Mariette, and thank you for joining us this morning here, everyone that's in person and everybody who has joined our simulcast online. I am just every month constantly impressed at our ability to reach more and more people by utilizing, or as I said last week, as we were running through this, making lemonade out of the lemons of the pandemic and being able to reach our community far and wide across the state of California, as well as here in Sacramento. So thank you all so much for joining us and being a part of this important conversation. On our, I think there was going to be a slide that outlines what I was going to go through. Here we are. There is a lot going on at CalRecycle, as many of you know, and I wanted to highlight as part of my director's report this morning all of the topic-specific public meetings that will be taking place over the next month. Please go onto our website to find more information about these meetings, but just to highlight the things that are going on in the next couple of weeks. SB 54, our implementation of the packaging legislation. We will be having a webinar and meeting on February 28th. With a focus on the advisory board process and the needs assessment. On March 15th in the afternoon, we will be hosting our monthly chat on SB 1383, our organics recycling implementation law. This will be a focus on multifamily dwelling. I know of a lot of our local government partners out there are looking for some solutions on multifamily dwelling. So please join us for that. I think a lot of the success that we've received in hosting those webinars is really focused on the peer-to-peer solutions that have come forward, and we've seen a lot of benefit from those. On March 15th, in the morning, we will be hosting our very first SB 1215 workshop. This is one of our battery recycling pieces of legislation. So again, as we're kicking off some of these new EPR programs and the expansion of our e-waste program, we will be starting workshops on all of these things. And as you can see here, we have several outlined. And then just quick reminders to check out our website for AB 2440 and SB 1013, which is the beverage container recycling law amendments. So stay tuned and please join us for these important public meetings. And with that, I will pass it back to Maria.
Thank you. Wildfire debris removal crews are back at work in Siskiyou County, and CalRecycle is assisting state and local partners to help clean up communities that flooded during last month's severe storms. Deputy Director of Disaster Debris Removal Operations, Tina Walker, joins us with an update. Good morning, Tina.
Good morning, Maria. Debris removal operations in Siskiyou County near the Oregon border is reaching its final stages. Only 7 properties await debris removal, and the hazard tree removal phase, which began in January, is proceeding very well, with 727 hazard trees already felled. Following debris removal, there are several critical steps necessary before properties are returned for redevelopment. The soil is tested to ensure disaster-related contaminants have been addressed, erosion control is applied, and any fire-damaged trees posing a safety risk, as determined by a qualified arborist, is removed. Once all of these steps are verified complete, properties are returned to the county and their property owners. As of today, 86 properties have completed all steps and have been returned for redevelopment. CalRecycle recently joined state, local, and federal partners to help Californians recover from the impacts of this year's severe winter storms and flooding through technical support to local jurisdictions managing their own flood debris removal operations. Similar to wildland fire debris removal operations, flood debris removal operations address contaminated debris requiring protective gear and specialized training to handle, and both require separation of materials to ensure household hazardous waste and other toxic items are properly disposed of, and all recyclable materials, including vegetation, that can be composted are not sent to landfills. But the processes are a bit different because flood-damaged homes are usually freestanding, and property owners and residents bring contaminated materials, including sheetrock and insulation, to the curbside for pickup. Homes not properly cleared are in danger of being a health hazard, with mold being a long-term problem. Merced County is one of those counties we're helping with technical support addressing the impacts to these storms. So let's take a look at their recovery process here.
When disaster strikes, California comes together to help communities recover.
Again, really important to stay safe in the aftermath of these floods. Remember that so many household materials are in fact hazardous, so don't forget to wear your PPE.
As part of California's One Team, One Fight, CalRecycle experts supported flood cleanup by local governments, state and federal partners after severe storms caused catastrophic flooding statewide, including in the Merced County communities of Planada and McSwain.
We're giving technical assistance to the counties and local jurisdictions that are handling the debris removal operation here.
Drawing on experience from 28 wildfire cleanup operations over nearly 2 decades, ensuring destroyed debris is safely disposed or recycled into new products.
We're very familiar with debris removal. We know a lot about debris and the hazards that are involved in removal of debris.
Whether guiding local governments through disaster cleanup process or managing disaster debris removal operations directly, CalRecycle is committed to helping Californians recover from disasters.
There we're going to go into earthquakes, landslides, snow avalanches, things like that, so that, in case any of those events happen, we'll be prepared to assist when it's needed.
Back to you, Maria. Thank you.
Our director, Rachel Mackey-Wagner, has a few remarks now.
I just want to really highlight, I know that all just looks like really good news through that video, but I just really wanted to highlight for those of you that are involved on the local level with the debris removal activities, you know how incredibly difficult it is to step in after a disaster and help a community recover and safely remove debris very quickly. And so I just want to say a special thank you to our entire debris team, led by Tina Walker, for the work that they've done for California. As was highlighted here, this was really our first call to duty on a non-wildfire disaster. And when counties needed help after the flooding this year, CalRecycle stood ready, and that is in no small part to our debris team and to Deputy Director Tina Walker, and for the work that they've done to really build a strong debris removal team here at CalRecycle. And while many people don't think of this as being one of the core functions of CalRecycle, over the last decade, it has become one of our core functions, and it has made California stronger because California communities and at the county level know that we are here to support them. So I just really wanted to highlight that before we move on to some of our exciting grant news. Thanks, Maria.
Thanks, Rachel. As Rachel alluded, applications are now open for $154 million in local food and yard waste recycling infrastructure grants. Deputy Director Zoe Heller joins us now to tell us more about that.
Thanks, Maria. This is CalRecycle's largest ever organics grant program solicitation to help boost compost and organic waste processing capacity statewide. The $154 million investment will support local compliance with SB 1383 requirements as California works to cut landfill methane emissions. Local governments, agencies, qualifying tribes, businesses, and nonprofits are eligible for funding, which includes $78 million for composting projects, $56.5 million for anaerobic digestion and co-digestion projects, $15 million for standalone pre-processing projects, and $5 million for in-vessel composting projects. Applications are open now and due April 20th. CalRecycle expects to announce grant awards in October.
A reminder, you can submit public comments on any of today's agenda items. Here's how you can do it.
California wants your input on recycling and trash pollution issues. Join CalRecycle's decision-making process by submitting a public comment on any of today's agenda items. Microphones are available for those of you in the room. If you're joining remotely, just click the public meeting banner at the top of our website, then click on the public comment portal to send us your feedback. Just visit calrecycle.ca.gov. We'll address public comments at the end of the meeting.
More Californians now have safe and easy disposal options for unused medication and home-generated sharps waste. Take a look at a little more about these new programs.
Medication helps and heals, but if you flush it down the toilet, throw it in the trash, or stash it, unused medication can end up in the wrong hands. In California, industry is now responsible for providing safe, convenient disposal options for consumers at no cost.
Californians now have access to free mailback options, and we'll start seeing collection bins like these at hospitals, sheriff stations, and pharmacies.
Visit CalRecycle's website, calrecycle.ca.gov, or scan this QR code for links to these industry programs, including how to search for collection bin locations near you.
Deputy Director Zoe Heller is back with new information on the state's pharmaceutical and sharps waste programs. Zoe?
CalRecycle is considering two revised annual program budgets, one for home-generated sharps and another for covered drugs. The director will determine whether to approve, disapprove, or maintain conditional approval of the Drug Takeback Solutions Foundation's revised annual program budgets for home-generated wastes and covered drugs by March 16, 2023. Californians can use these programs to safely and properly dispose of their medication and used sharp materials. You can read staff's analysis on these agenda items at the public notices linked to today's agenda, and subscribe to CalRecycle's Pharmaceutical and Sharps listserv to receive regular updates. Next on our agenda is consideration of CARE's revised carpet stewardship plan. The director disapproved CARE's 23 to 27 carpet stewardship plan in November of 22. CARE was then given 60 days to resubmit its 23 to 27 plan. Because CARE's previously approved 2018 to 2022 plan expired on December 31st, 2022, without approval of a new plan, CARE's contingency plan became effective on Jan 1 of 23. As required by statute, CalRecycle is administering the carpet stewardship program via the contingency plan until a new carpet stewardship plan is approved by CalRecycle. CARE submitted its revised plan to CalRecycle on January 17, 23, in response to the director's November 18, 2022 disapproval. CalRecycle reviewed CARE's revised plan and determined that it fully met 5 of the 7 requirements identified in the director's disapproval and partially met the other 2 requirements. Additional revisions by CARE are necessary to fully meet those 2 requirements. CalRecycle also determined that revisions by CARE related to its contingency plan and reserve policy are necessary. Statute requires CalRecycle's director to approve, conditionally approve, or disapprove CARE's revised plan by March 20th, 23. You can read the department's full analysis on the public notice linked in this agenda item. Next on the agenda, CalRecycle is announcing an approved scope of work for the new tire market and analysis support contract for $550,000. CalRecycle will soon issue a request for proposal to solicit interested contractors. California manages over 51 million waste tires each year. The awarded contractor will prepare 3 annual waste tire market reports to detail California waste tire markets and uses, waste tire flows, market demand, trends, as well as quantify the tire recycling rate and determine the quantity of California-generated waste tires managed each year. The contractor will also support CalRecycle to develop and implement 2 CalRecycle-sponsored tire conferences. The contract is anticipated to begin in April of 23 and end in December of 25.
CalRecycle is also awarding over $6 million in new grant funds to local governments to help keep waste tires from threatening our health or polluting our environment. First, take a look at how CalRecycle managed tire programs make a difference for Californians.
Up until a few decades ago, piles of illegally dumped tires polluted our state, sometimes catching fire burning deep inside the pile. In 1998, an employee clearing weeds at a property illegally storing about 7 million tires in San Joaquin County sparked one of the largest tire fires in our nation's history. Large plumes of toxic black smoke from the Tracy Tire Fire released dangerous chemicals like cyanide and carbon monoxide while it burned for more than 2 years.
It was really a wake-up call to California that something had to be done.
California strengthened its decade-old Tire Recycling Act in 2000 to put waste tires to better use.
Our role is to find new ways to recycle tires to prevent them being illegally dumped or tossed into landfills.
California now tracks the storage and movement of used tires and supports recycling and market development to encourage the use of products made from recycled tires. CalRecycle's Tire Incentive Program provides financial incentives to eligible manufacturers that make new products from old tires.
2 of the products that my team promotes include rubberized asphalt concrete, rag, and tire drive aggregate TDA.
TDA, used as vibration mitigation under light rail, has saved the state millions of dollars while it absorbs sound and allows for a smoother ride through neighborhoods.
With TDA, we are actually solving engineering problems.
Rubberized asphalt concrete blends recycled tires and asphalt to create a more cost-effective, durable, and environmentally friendly alternative to traditional paving materials. Other tire-derived products use ground-up recycled tires mixed with other materials to create products like flooring, roofing, traffic control devices, and pathways.
In a lot of ways, waste tire products can outperform conventional material, and also it could save money.
More than 24 million tires still buried in landfills every year.
That means our work is not completed yet.
Deputy Director Zoe Heller has the latest on waste tire grant awards.
Today, we're announcing $6 million in grant awards to 31 local governments to investigate illegal waste tire dumping and to perform local waste tire facility inspections. The funding is available to all eligible cities, counties, and regional agencies in California under our local government waste tire enforcement grant program. CalRecycle received 31 applications. The list of grant recipients is linked to today's agenda. Sacramento County will receive $241,000 for landfill upgrades through CalRecycle's tire-derived aggregate grant program. The county expects to use nearly 590,000 waste tires to make lightweight fill for construction of roads and tipping pads at the Kiefer landfill. If your local government is doing stormwater infiltration galleries, landslide repair, or other public works that need lightweight aggregate, this program covers the cost of the aggregate and associated engineering. Please contact us for more information. Today, we're also awarding $194,000 to 4 local communities under our Farm and Ranch Solid Waste Cleanup and Abatement Grant Program. The program offers $1 million in annual funding to communities and tribes to help clear and prevent illegal dumping on farm and ranch land. Funds may be used to restore land and for things like signage, locks, security cameras, and fencing to prevent future dumping. CalRecycle recommends awards to Fresno County, as well as Denora, Honey Lake Valley, and Trinity County Resource Conservation Districts. You can read more about the local cleanup projects in the public notice linked to today's agenda. Since 1997, CalRecycle has awarded over $13 million to help clear more than 1,000 sites of things like tires, appliances, vehicles, construction debris, and other trash. Staff recommends no changes to the criteria and evaluation for CalRecycle's Waste Tire Amnesty Grant Program. Grants help fund local collection events to keep waste tires from polluting our environment. Local governments, special districts, qualifying tribes, and joint power authorities are encouraged to apply. Maximum grants are $40,000 for individual applicants and $90,000 for regional applicants. Our team is working to post the notice of funds available in March. Applications would be due in April and awards announced in August of 23. Then finally, the Imperial Valley Resource Management Agency is requesting approval of its amended joint powers agreement between Imperial County, Brawley, Calexico, El Central, Holtville, Imperial, and Westmoreland. The JPA amendment aims to provide members with assistance for compliance with SB 1383, as well as mandatory commercial recycling and mandatory commercial organics recycling requirements. Staff has determined the provisions required by law were addressed, and I'll be approving this request.
Moving to our pending solid waste and tire facilities permits, Branch Chief Paulina Lawrence is here with an update.
Thank you, Maria. First off, I'd like to start with those facilities that have been concurred on since last month's public meeting. On February 8, 2023, a new solid waste facilities permit for Recycling Industries, Inc., located in Sacramento County, was concurred on by the department. New to the agenda, we're announcing for the first time, is Del Norte Regional Transfer and Recycling and Regional Transfer Station, located at 111 South Del Norte Boulevard. This is in Ventura County. It's a modified solid waste facilities permit. Action is needed March 14th, 2023. Preliminary review of the permit package indicates the following proposed changes. Update to the name and mailing address of the operator and owner. Removal of the reference to receiving hazardous waste. Update to the legal description of this facility. Update to the local enforcement agency, or LEA, findings and prohibitations. Update to the documents that describe and or restrict the operation of the facility. And update to the self-monitoring requirements. And lastly, update to the LEA conditions. Next up, we have Old Durham Wood, Inc., located at 1156 Oroville, Chico Highway. This is in Butte County. It's a revised solid waste facilities permit. Action is needed March 24th, 2023. Preliminary review of the permit package indicates the following proposed design parameters. Permitted maximum tonnage from 500 tons per day to 750 tons per day. Removal of the permitted traffic volume on the permit cover page to reflect Title 14, CCR 17867A with regards to traffic flow. Permitted acreage increase from 30 acres to 120 acres, and a design capacity increase from 30,000 cubic yards to 300,000 cubic yards. Next up, I have Vasco Road Landfill, located at 4001 North Vasco Road. This is in Alameda County, and it's a revised solid waste facilities permit. This revised action due date was April 7th, 2023. Preliminary review of the permit package indicates the following proposed design perimeters. An increase in the maximum landfill elevation from 1,025 feet to 1,170 feet above mean sea level. The estimated landfill closure year will change from 2022 to 2051, and the design capacity will change from 32.97 million cubic yards to approximately 40.21 million cubic yards. Lastly is Blythe Sanitary Landfill. It's located at 1000 Midland Road in Blythe, California. This is in Riverside County. It's a revised solid waste facilities permit. Action is needed April 8th, 2023. Preliminary review of the permit package indicates the following proposed changes: increasing the total permitted area from 335 to 336 acres, decreasing the design capacity from 6,229,670 to 6,003,343 cubic yards, and increasing the estimated closure year from 2047 to 2052, and updating the language regarding ancillary hours. Next up, I'm going to describe several waivers that the department has received due to the January winter storm and flooding in the state. First off is San Mateo County. Shoreway Environmental Center was approved an LEA emergency waiver on January 15th, 2023. And this is for the permitted hours of operations until May 15th, 2023. Next, we have two for Los Angeles County, Sunshine Canyon City County Landfill. On January 13th, 2023, the Sunshine Canyon Landfill Local Enforcement Agency granted an emergency waiver of the permitted hours of operations until February 12th, 2023. Also in Los Angeles County is Burbank Recycling Center. The LEA granted an emergency waiver on January 20th, 2023 for the permitted daily tonnage until May 20th, 2023 due to the emergency resulting from the winter storms. Orange County, CVT Regional MRF and Transfer Station. The LEA granted an emergency waiver on February 9th, 2023 for the storage time of material received until March 10th of 2023. Next up is Sacramento County. First facility is Elder Creek. The Sacramento County LEA granted an emergency waiver on January 13th, 2023 for the permitted tonnage, hours of operations, and storage time limits of solid waste removal until April 12th of 2023. Also in Sacramento County is North Area Recycling Recovery Station. The LEA also granted an emergency waiver on January 11th, 2023. And this is for the permitted traffic volume, and it is good until April 11th, 2023. Next up is Santa Barbara County. The Tahigas Resource Recovery Project and Sanitary Landfill on January 13th, 2023. The Santa Barbara County Environmental Health Services, LEA, granted an emergency waiver of the permitted maximum tonnage and permitted volume until March 11th. Also in Santa Barbara County is Santa Ynez Valley Recycling and Transfer Station. On January 13th, 2023, the Santa Barbara County LEA also granted an emergency waiver for permitted maximum tonnage and permitted traffic volume for this facility until March 11th, 2023. And then lastly, in Ventura County, we have Tolan Road Landfill. The LEA granted an emergency waiver on February 9th, 2023. This is for permitted traffic volume until May 11th, 2023. That is all I have. Thank you, Maria.
Thanks so much, Paulina. CalRecycle's beverage container recycling program has published its quarterly certification and registration report, also its recycling program enforcement report. Both are linked to today's agenda. You can find more information on any of today's items. Just go to CalRecycle's homepage and click on the public meeting web banner at the top of our site for a link to the agenda and associated public notices. Now it's time for public comments. Mindy, did you want to read these or do you want to? Oh, we'll take them in the front. Okay, sure.
Hi, good morning. Nick Lapis with Californians Against Waste. Is that okay? I just want to ask for updates on a couple different things. The first is the Recycling Commission. As you're aware, Richard Valle passed away about a week ago. he was really the impetus for the Recycling Commission. He was the first one to talk about it before the legislation was introduced. And so his passing really kind of reminded us that we've not reestablished the commission since our last meeting in June, and we were wondering for an update on that.
Thanks, Nick. Appreciate the question. And yes, a very important member of our recycling community, Richard Valle, passed away not quite 2 weeks ago. And it's a very, very, very sad passing, as he was a very committed member of not only his community in terms of waste reduction and recycling, but just overall statewide, his commitment to the work that we do here. So thank you for raising his unfortunate and really sad passing for us to remember his important work. The question on the commission, I think, unfortunately, because we've received, so few applications, and there is concern, especially from me, but overall from the department, of the lack of diversity of perspectives from the applications that we've received. We are reconsidering our process in terms of the commission. We want to ensure that it represents all of the interests in this important work that we do, not just around recycling, but waste reduction, and how we build out the circular economy, and ensuring that the commission really is a representative of all of those interests. So we are reconsidering that process right now, and we will bring it back to the public meeting when we have a better sense of how we're going to do that.
And an unrelated request for a follow-up as well. On AB 1201 implementation, there are two different components that are under CalRecycle purview. Well, there's multiple, but two that come to mind. One is the third-party certifiers, where you are supposed to certify the certifiers. And the second is the regulations around lookalikes and products that are confusing. It seems like at least the latter makes sense to fold into the SB 54 rulemaking. I don't know if you've given that any thought. But for the former, I'm not sure why we need a delay. It's a fairly straightforward process, I believe. I don't think it requires regulations to be developed. So any updates on that?
So Nick, as we've mentioned before, we're getting the study underway, and that's our main focus right now, in that's required to be completed relatively soon. So that's where staff are focusing our energy. As it relates to components of 1201 and other pieces of legislation that have overlap with 54, we're looking at all of those pieces and understand the importance to communicate out where we see overlap and where, through either our informal regulatory process or the workshops that we're doing, provide some opportunity for dialogue too. In the component of 1201 that you mentioned, that the third-party certifier piece, we are looking into that and reviewing that. My understanding is that it's a May, so we'll bring a recommendation to Rachel as to how to proceed as we're considering implementation of all the other pieces of legislation in front of us now.
Thank you. I just want to leave you guys with the specific thought that it doesn't need to be part of the broader regulations. That this is, even in the bill, the way it's written, it's a timeline of, I believe, a year after you adopt certifiers before companies have to meet that requirement, and it's no earlier than beginning of next year. So at this point, any time we waste is time that the legislature gave us that we're not using. Thank you.
Thank you.
Going next. Hello, this is Clara Vazex from Californians Against Waste. Just wanting to make a few comments on the CARE revised plan to CalRecycle. We are very thankful that CalRecycle reviewed and disapproved the plan, the 2023 to 2027 plan last year. And however, we still think that the revised plan that CARE submitted in January does not meet the requirements that were listed as not met in CalRecycle's November request for approval, specifically regarding details on methods, models, and calculation on how to reach those recycling goals. So we're still pretty concerned with the revised plan and respectfully request that CalRecycle disapprove that plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Shirley Frericks. I'm from Nevada County Climate Action Now, the Waste Not group. My most important thing that I want to tell you about today, or talk with you about today, is we really want to recycle, but we don't have enough reprocessing. You know, it's like recycling is one thing, and I can get people to put it in the thing, but we can't get it reprocessed, and that's a hang-up. So about a month ago, I was in Augusta, Georgia, and I went up to Atlanta to the Nexus Circular operation that is reprocessing plastic. And they're turning it back into oil. You know, they showed me the whole process, and they said, be sure to say it is not, there's no fire involved, it's all molecular, you know, and it's very high tech, it's amazing. Anyway, so, you know, I looked at that, and I brought information on that. There's another one in Michigan that is a new one, because one of my campaigns is to deal with black plastic plant containers. I mean, how many people do not buy plants in little thingies and biggie thingies? And anyway, and where do they go? For the most part, they go to landfill. We're starting now working with the master gardeners to see what we can do to collect. Well, you know, waste managers said, well, we can take 1, 2, and maybe 5. Well, that's not sufficient. So these people in East Jordan, they're willing to come out, you know, here. They recycle into recycled content containers to sell back to the nursery people. And we have so many nursery people here that we could do it. So, you know, that's my current campaign, but I want to know what you all are doing to bring us reprocessing. As far as I know, we're real limited when it comes to plastic recycling processing out here.
Thank you so much for the comment and the question. And I love, as over the last couple of weeks, I was buying plants as well, and I was having that same dilemma of what can we do with those plastics. And as we know, the nurseries don't want them back because they have such a huge concern around the pathogens that could be transferred from reuse. But that does lend itself to potentially a recycling solution. Some of the technologies are challenging here in California to bring on board, because despite the fact that they are not necessarily incineration, they have some other environmental challenges or concerns associated with them that our other air quality and water quality laws create some constraints. But we are very, very interested in growing the reprocessing space in California. And as we've talked about the last couple of years, building the circular economy in California, that is one of the big gaps that we see and we've identified. Figuring out how to fill it is a little bit more challenging given the diversity of the state of California and the size of the state of California. Governor Newsom in his January budget proposed what is a zero waste plan. And if the legislature approves that proposal, what that would help us do is build a roadmap for building out that circular economy, identifying specific gaps that we have here in California for specific types of materials, and then figuring out how best to utilize our resources, both regulatory and financial, to help facilitate that. So we are very, very much focused on that, everything from plastic containers to organic waste to everything in between. So we are looking big picture at how to fill that. We have grant programs, but how do we better utilize our grants and loans so that we can get at very much that purpose? So thank you for bringing the concern, because we share it.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, and let's not forget microplastics, you know. A lot of microplastics coming off all that stuff into our soil, into our, yada, yada. Anyway, so I'm going to give you this because it's a person's name.
Yes, I'm familiar with the company.
Card.
Yes, thank you.
You know, the other thing is my career's background is a executive vice president with, you know, like the Gap and Williams-Sonoma and stuff like that. So I deal with customers, right? And so I'm having this need to say that we need to come more from the customer point of view on how people will learn to recycle. I was just in the Nevada City parade. We had a Mardi Gras parade. It was great fun. And so I did, because I was working with Circle also, we had a Wild and Scenic Festival. We had all these people. And so my job was to go around, experience recycling. So I go around to all these cans, and they're like full of aluminum things and very little plastic, interesting But almost every one I picked up, because I was separating them out, had stuff in it. Okay? And so, that's just a small thing, but it's contamination and they can't be recycled if that is in there. So it's one of the little things that I'm going to try and figure out. We're going to put like a little spittoon next to the trash container. I don't know what we're going to do, but the education thing is a big thing. That's part of what I do, is kind of fill in between what waste management does that really speaks to the customer. We have a problem because people see recycling as it doesn't matter. There was a lot of really bad PR about it, particularly last fall. And so people, it's like, yeah, so what? Or other people that say, oh, well, yeah, I put it in there and they'll do something. Well, not really. If you don't do this, they won't do that. So I'm just saying that's part of the education that really needs a little work.
I so appreciate your comments because, at the 75,000 foot level, as we're trying to build out systems, sometimes it's hard to figure out how do we build those systems in a way that work on the ground level. But that's exactly what the conversations, Maria, who's the head of our office, our OPA office, we've been having a conversation about how do we change the way we educate consumers and Californians so that they feel engaged. We start in a really good spot in California. Californians want to do the right thing for their environment. We all come from a perspective of we are invested in our state and in our environment. So how do we build from that and give people faith in their system and give them the tools to do it very simply and easily and not make it so complicated, but also have the faith in the system that they're using. So all of these pieces have to fit together, and that's exactly right. And so we're trying to figure out how to build that around, again, it's not just plastic or aluminum or what's going in the blue bin, but also what's going in the green bin. And also not just recycling, right? A big part of our problem is how much waste we're creating in the first place and how do we reduce the amount we create. So we've been spending a lot of time thinking about that. And again, not to advertise too much for what's in the governor's budget, but that is part of the idea behind a zero waste plan is building that roadmap for the people of California to figure out how do we do what we know we want to do for our environment better. And it's not just for our environment, right? It's for our communities and the community benefit and the reduction of how much is going into a landfill and the microplastics. And it's all of the pieces and fitting it together. And so we have a lot of really great programs here at CalRecycle that have done amazing things, right? Everything from billions upon billions of bottles and cans recycled over the course of that program to millions of gallons of paint recycled to the newer mattress program that has removed hundreds of millions of tons of waste from our landfills. So these programs are really incredibly successful. But in 2021, California still landfilled 41 million tons of waste. So the idea is to build a holistic plan for the people of California so we very much can do exactly what you're saying. How do we get things going to their highest and best use? How do we reduce the overall waste? We could have this conversation all day, as much as I would love to.
I have to thank you for taking the time to have a little bit of conversation about it. I mean, not just saying, oh, okay, bye, thanks, go. I really appreciate that very much.
Well, that's the point of the meeting. I think that is the point, is that we're engaging.
And just know that people like me are out there wanting to help. I'm going to join your 54 because, I'm working with getting rid of single-use disposables and working with the restaurants and everything up in Nevada County. Truckie's already got it going, but the rest of the county is way behind. So we on the team, on the floor, on the ground, can help. So thank you very, very much. And can I give this to somebody?
Yeah, please. Thank you for your engagement, Shirley. We really appreciate it.
I also just want to invite you to do a couple of things in terms of our education program. So we very much address the issue of contamination, and that I invite you to check out irecyclesmart.com. And then on our YouTube channel, we have several trainings for the assets and tools that you can use for your local programs. We've been working with jurisdictions to get them trained to use all of the assets. Everything is available for them to use locally as well.
I think I'm next. Good morning, Director and staff. I'm Heidi Sanborn of the National Stewardship Action Council. And I want to say first, we're very excited that the Zero Waste Plan is a thing, because we've always talked about these goals and hitting 75 by 2020, and we don't hit them because we don't have a plan. And focusing on zero waste instead of recycling is exactly where I think the state needs to go. So I'm really excited to hear about that and support that fully. Whatever we can do to help, we'll be there. And I did want to say, playing off the last comment, was about inkjet cartridges. We have a robust remanufacturing industry, or we had, down in Chatsworth, and they're going out of business pretty quickly. We could lose the entire infrastructure because the industry is going to recycling of cartridges and not reuse. And we've got this terrible problem of imported cartridges from primarily China that are mislabeled, and they indicate that they're remanufactured and they're not. And so what's happening is most of what's going to these companies that used to have 80, 90%, something they could do something with and remanufacture, they now can't do anything with it. It ends up being a cost and single-use plastic that gets landfilled. So we want to raise this issue. We're actually bringing it to the Green Guides discussion at the national level. We've got SWANA discussing it as part of their comments. And I just wanted to bring it to your attention that maybe that would be something that AG could look at, since he's really focusing on these single-use plastics, because it is a two-pronged problem. It's what's being made and how it's labeled and where it's coming from. That's the China import issue is totally separate from the fact that we're losing our infrastructure too, because the industry itself is literally going more towards recycling instead of reuse. And so I just wanted to point that out. I'm hearing that some of it is about quality and how the quality of the reprinting after use. I'm not an ink check expert, so I don't know, and it could be totally legitimate. So I just think this is something that needs some attention because it's a lot of plastic, and pretty much everybody has one or two printers even in their house now because we work from home. And it's a very visible single-use plastic. And to me, it's a container for ink. So I wonder if it's under 54 or how that would work too. So anyway, just something to think about, and I just wanted to raise it at the public meeting so everybody knows that this is an issue. And then, of course, the never-ending Groundhog Day conversation about carpet. I just want to say, here we are again, 12 years, 13 years after the original bill passed, after 2 cleanup bills passed, after you give and your staff gives explicit, detailed analysis about what needs to be in these plans, and we still get incomplete submittals. My feelings have been pretty clear. I don't think this group can run this program. I don't think their intents are for the Californians that deserve a good program. And I'd like to see it disapproved if the law allows you to. So we're just putting that out there that, we don't want CARE to run this program anymore. We don't think that they've done a good job. We've lost Aquafil. We've lost infrastructure. It's just a constant frustration. So, and I am concerned, and I was going to ask you if this is possible to ask a question. I'm getting concerned about the reserves because my understanding is that there's no reserve left in that program, or other programs we were having to get them to cut back and they had too much money, that they don't have enough. And I'm wondering, can they even make the bills getting paid at the end of March? And I'm worried about our California infrastructure again. So I guess, is there a way to get access to the amount of money they have in the reserves and whether they can pay the bills?
Appreciate the question, Heidi, and we share that concern at CalRecycle. As you know, the statute requires them, when they have a disapproved plan, and we go into the contingency plan, to create an escrow account and to put all of the money left in their account into that escrow account, which they were supposed to have done by January 30th, and they've withheld certain amounts of those funds that they've said are previously encumbered. That's the word I was looking for. Were previously encumbered, but showed us no documentation to that effect. Additionally, as part of their contingency plan, they have a number of task orders with specific dates where they were supposed to disclose specific contracts and other documents. We have not received everything. They have not completed the task orders pursuant to the contingency plan. So CalRecycle shares your concern about ensuring that those providers on the ground in California, the infrastructure here gets adequately paid for the work that they're doing, and that we don't destroy the infrastructure. And I think, we share your concerns about the implementation and the amount of money in the reserve and how that money is being expended. So we don't have the answer to this question, and we are working diligently. Zoe's team, the entire CARE team, 3 or 4 of our attorneys are spending many hours of their day, every day, working on this specific issue because we see the success of our carpet recycling program is really, important to this department and to the stakeholders who've invested so much of their time over the last 13 years to make it successful. So, we are within our statutory authorities and limitations doing the best that we can to ensure that. But I just want to assure you that we are doing everything that we can to make sure that those people who are providing the infrastructure here in the state of California are receiving their payments. But the law, as you know, is somewhat limited in terms of the department's authority to step in. So,
well, hopefully we can help change that, because this is, to me, very concerning that we have a situation where we don't even know how much money is in that account and they're not providing it, and we don't know if our people can get paid. And that, to me, is almost an urgency bill, because we're at the place we've already lost too much infrastructure. And CARE, if you're listening, get it together, because this is really the worst producer-run program that I know of in the world. So congratulations on that. And thank you to your staff. And I'm really sorry that all of you are having to put up with this. I know it's a lot of work and staff time. So thank you. If there's anything we can do to help, let us know.
Thank you for that. And yes, thank you to our staff who are working really, really diligently. Again, our EPR programs here in California are really viewed across the country and the world. And so CalRecycle is really determined to ensure their success. And we look forward to working with all of our stakeholders to ensure that success of this program.
Sorry. Hi, it's tough to go after that one. Good morning, my name's Abby Bean, and I'm the CARE Grants Manager and the former interim California Carpet Stewardship Program Director. I just wanted to be here today to let you know that I have contracted with CARE with the program since 2015. And that was because, above all, I wanted to see this program succeed for the businesses, for the California taxpayers, and for the environment. I just wanted to let you know I am a conservationist at heart. I have a background in zero waste operations and environmental policy, and I'm fully invested in product stewardship. My desire is really, at the end of the day, for this program to be embraced like all of the other product stewardship, programs in the state and the organizations. It's true that the road to get where we are today has been much longer and much bumpier than we hoped or expected. Our staff spent long days designing the program from scratch, and our collectors and recyclers built businesses and markets with no template for a complex material. Our investments, such as grants, have taken several years to bear significant fruit, but now these funding programs are well developed and include a new innovation and design program, which I'm very excited about, and that should invest in more sustainable post-consumer carpet products, content products, and carpet designs. Our recycling rate has been climbing each year since 2015, even during the pandemic. And finally, I have enough history in the program, at least, to make the following statements. In the last couple of years, we achieved most, and then all in 2022, of our annual plan goals for the first time. This includes increasing carpet reuse by 150% and public drop-off sites by over 30% last year. We're in a position to accomplish our annual goals each year going forward. Our proposed 5-year plan requires fewer changes than in years past. I know it does require some changes and clarifications still, but I'm confident we can make those changes spelled out in the latest CalRecycle RFA and make those quickly. Also, the California recyclers do support the plan. So thank you for considering approval or conditional approval of the 23 to 27 plan, and hopefully we can get the fund back on track too. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming, and thank you for your comments.
Evan Edgar Associates. Hey, I want to talk about the CalRecycle grants today. What an impressive program you got going on there. A nice blended portfolio of not only compost by anaerobic digestion, but public-private. So it's a nice blend, and it's going to be a great program. One thing I want to support is community composting. They've put together an application for $5 million as any way to restore that funding. I think you were at the United States Composting Council, And what was impressive about that was the next generation of diversity and grassroots efforts to do community compost. So if you got to take $5 million out of this infrastructure grant, I think they deserve their support since they have applications of record and did a lot of hard work. The $150 million will probably leverage about $600 million in capital by the public and private sector. Usually the grant's about 25% of the CapEx. So with that leverage, we're going to be investing a lot of money, and I calculated about 1.5 million new tons of organics will come out of the landfill, which will improve the recycling rate by 25%, by 25 points. So over the last couple of years, industry and public-private sector, from Swanda to CASA to everybody, been wanting to put about $100 to $200 million per year in infrastructure grants in order to make the 75%. And what we see by doing this lift of $150 million, we're going to go at 25%. So that's a great opportunity. So one of the things about it, it's been one of the most cost-effective programs under cap and trade. I hope the Little Hoover Commission, when the report comes out in late March, will amplify that, because we need greater allocation in the future. We see that next year's budget is only $7 million from 150. So we want to be able to prove the cost effectiveness and that we're making due progress on SB 1383. So let's keep up the good work and look forward to the awards in October. And the industry's ready to divert 1.5 million tons starting 2024. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I always appreciate your perspective on the work that we're doing. So thank you so much, Mr. Edgar.
It looks like that's all the comments we have in the room today. So next we're going to go to comments that have come through our public comment portal. Mindy?
Hi all. Again, forgive for any misreading. Our first comment is from Brett Hemphill. From Hemphill's Rugs and Carpets. It's on the CARE plan. He writes, I am commenting about the new fee proposed that starts April 1, 2023. There is now going to be 4 quadrants to figure out, with rumors of 10 or more variables associated with this tax. How is a person on the sales floor of a carpet store going to figure out these variable options? It is a problem that retail storefronts do not need. The big box will be unable to train their rotating sales teams quick enough. He goes on to talk about the fee and asks about consideration for the plan.
Thank you so much for the question and the comment. I think what we would be happy if you want to reach out, Mr. Hemphill, to CARE staff or to the department to have a conversation. However, the fee that you're referencing is a fee that apparently the product stewardship organization arm of CARE is proposing, and until they have an approved plan, they can't put a fee in an assessment fee in place. So I am not aware of the specifics associated with the assessment fee. CARE has articulated to the department that their assessment needs to go up. But they do not have an approved plan before the department at this juncture. So if they have an approved plan at that juncture, they can, under the statutory allowances, put forward an assessment fee. I do want to comment just briefly on that. Like I mentioned, late last year, CARE did note that they needed an increase in the assessment fee and had put that as a part of their plan. However, we at the department cannot really comment on how they're doing that assessment fee or whether or not it's adequate for the costs associated with the program, because we've not provided adequate information on the expenditure. So the department is not contemplating an increase of the assessment plan the assessment fee at this juncture. While we're in the contingency plan, because we simply don't have enough information to even start that conversation. Once we have the required information, we can start that conversation. But specific to this question, this would be an assessment fee that CARE has proposed. And again, until they have an approved plan, they can't put forward a new fee, which to Ms. Sandberg's question does jeopardize the payments going out. So the department is working really hard to figure out a path forward here. I think it's important, though, that should CARE get an approved plan sometime in the next month or so, that they reach out to their stakeholders and ensure that they do it in a way that their retailers can actually implement it.
Another question about CARE, Joanne Brash from the California Product Stewardship Council writes, the California Product Stewardship Council thanks CalRecycle staff for the analysis on CARE's revised plan. We support the findings and call for the department to disapprove the revised plan. It is unfortunate that the advisory committee wasn't engaged in reviewing the plan in a public meeting with expert-led discussion. It is clear from the RFA that CARE still did not meet all of the conditions. Most concerning is condition 6 regarding public fee money. CARE has repeatedly shown they are not good stewards of the California fee money. We recommend disapproval and swift action to protect the program and public fee money.
Thanks, Joanne and CPSC for the comment. I don't think there was a question. I think it was just a comment. Thanks, Mindy, for reading the comment.
Next comment comes from Valerie Lake from One Earth Recycling. We are a small recycling center being blocked by landlords from opening new centers. What enforcement measures are being taken to notify and fine markets in unserved zones?
Thank you for the question. I think that goes to a question about citing and oh, good. Hi, Amy.
Hi.
Finish answering that?
No, thank you. Amy Cameron, Beverage Container Recycling Program Division Director. Thank you for your comments, Valerie. Recently, dealers were notified of their status in the program as it related to the changes in the convenience zones due to SB 1013. CalRecycle had a series of webinars 2 weeks ago to help the dealers understand their responsibilities to the program if they are located in an unserved convenience zone. Dealers in unserved convenience zones must notify CalRecycle in the coming months of whether they choose option A, in-store redemption, or option B, a daily fee. And then the BCRP enforcement team will do inspections on dealers who chose option A. I would encourage you to continue to work with your recycling analyst here at CalRecycle to help you explore additional locations for a recycling center, because we would love to help you open a new recycling center. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you, Amy. The next comment is an anonymous submission. It reads, Director Wagner, I have a question regarding the statewide Commission on Recycling Markets and Curbside Recycling. Richard Valle from TriSaid Recycling, the state's largest nonprofit recycling organization, was a key member and co-chair of the statewide Recycling Commission. He was very instrumental in starting the Alameda County StopWaste.org National Sword Recycling Task Force, which to address the local problems related to the China National Sword crackdown on importing contaminated recyclables with non-recyclable material. Richard's efforts started that task force and begun the public discussion on what were acceptable recyclables in our local programs before the statewide Recycling Commission began their work. Through his career, his actions, commitment to our communities, protection of the environment, and his work with the Recycling Commission, through his actions, there were many very important discussions that took place, and several key pieces of legislation were approved, including adding wine and spirits to the CRV program under SB 1013 and identifying the draft list of 15 items that are recyclable in California to support SB 343.
Thank you so much for that comment. And again, I think that goes to the question that Mr. Lapis asked. And thank you for highlighting again Richard Valle's incredible work here on behalf of the state of California. But as I previously mentioned, I think we're going to reconsider the application process for the commission to ensure a diversity of perspectives as pursuant to the intent of the legislation. Thank you so much.
Next comment and question comes from Susan Collins from the Container Recycling Institute. Can you share with us the work that you've recently done on developing the maps for the newly expanded, apologies, this moves a little bit and I lose my spot. Okay. For the newly expanded convenience zones. Are those new maps available on your website? How many new retailers are now required to participate compared to before the law was changed?
Hi, thank you for your questions, Susan. So yes, as many are aware, the convenience zones through SB 1013 were in urban and suburban areas expanded from a half a mile to a 1 mile zone. So I really would like to take this 10 seconds to thank my staff in the BCRP division, as well as the CalRecycle IT team for all the work that they did in a very short order to get this database up and running. And so to answer to your question, we do not have a map available on our website, but we do have a database. And if you type convenience zone status into our search bar, it'll take you right there, and you can search by city, county, or zip code. And we had several webinars on February 8th for dealers to let them know about their responsibilities to the BCRP. The slide deck is on our website and has the data I believe you are looking for in terms of how many new convenience zones. We do not have a very specific number of dealers at this time that is available. Thank you.
The next question/comment comes from Jeff Dunleavy from Means Resource, East Bay. He writes about, in the last 3 years, the CRV program has lost many containers. There are counties in Northern California with less than 40% redemption rates because there are so few recycling centers. How soon can funds from AB 179 be rolled out so that we can open new recycling centers in unserved areas? Will the funds be available by the end of the year?
Thank you, Mr. Dunleavy, for your question. Yes, we plan on rolling out many of these grant funds this year. And again, looking for ways, the intention of the budget and the legislation very specifically talked about increasing access for Californians and opportunity for recycling. And so we are looking at ways to do that across the state of California and using those one-time grant funds to start with more sustainable solutions for recycling. And I appreciate your note on the processing payments. We've heard from a lot of stakeholders associated with the processing payments. And as many of you know or may not know, the processing payments are meant to help stabilize the markets when there are dips or decreases in the PET scrap value. So those, when scrap values are high, those processing payments are lower, and we are required at the department to reevaluate and reassess those payments on an annual basis. And so, as many of you know, that happened in January, and it took a pretty big dip from the previous 12 months because we, using our authority, did not decrease the processing payment in the previous 2 quarters to help balance out some of that volatility when scrap values actually were very high in the earlier part of the year. So appreciate the comment, appreciate the question, and yes, we are looking at ways to help. So much of the funding that we've received from the legislature in the last couple of years is really meant to be directed to sustainable forms of infrastructure, and so we are really interested in how can we use this funding for sustainable investment. So welcome those comments as well.
Next comment is also from Susan Collins, Container Recycling Institute. California's budget change proposal for new staff to implement SB 1013 is a very thorough and well thought out document. However, there is a huge need for education to the public, to consumers. Consumers need to be informed that wine and spirits will soon have a deposit on them, and consumers will be able to redeem those containers. It is even more urgent to have the state educate the public, since the labeling changes have a 1-year grace period.
Thank you, Susan, for that comment. And we will take that back as we're implementing SB 1013 and the budget provisions and other changes. We will take that back and integrate that into our process. Maria's nodding. So yes, we are going to be looking for ways to integrate that into our overall education. Appreciate the comment.
Next comment is from Neil Edgar from the California Compost Coalition. I would appreciate more clarity from your organization regarding the implementation schedule for AB 1201. We heard today's comment and did not understand what the future timeline for implementation portends. As sponsors of the bill, we expect that its implementation would not be tied to the SB 54 process. At this critical time, when organics collection program design and packaging allowance determinations are being made in new jurisdictions across California, the certainty about what should be included in green bins and what shouldn't can't wait until 2027 and needs to be addressed in a more timely manner.
Neil, thank you for your question and your ask for more clarification. And what I can provide more clarification on is the staff report that I mentioned that we will complete by Jan 124 that will have a public stakeholder process. And in the report, there's the requirement that we make some determinations about feasibility of collection in jurisdiction programs, but we're also going to have more robust analysis. And once we have a timeline as far as when we plan to have our first public meeting, we'll make sure to announce that at one of our public meetings or public workshops. For the other components of the bill, as mentioned, many of those are maize, and we will be reviewing those with Director Wagner and staff to identify what we can roll into that initial report and what will require further discussion and determination.
Next comment is from John Davis from the Mojave Desert and Mountain Recycling Authority. The commission composition is described by legislation, so it's not clear what is holding up the commission's continued work.
Appreciate the question. So I think, part of the challenge is that we don't have applicants to meet all of the requested positions that are outlined in the statute. And again, as I had mentioned in my previous comments about the Recycling Commission, that the intent is really to get a diversity of perspectives and to advise on many of our important recycling programs. And right now, the applicants we have before us do not represent that diversity.
Jeff Dunleavy sent a follow-up comment. As a follow-up to the comment regarding the convenience zone recycling centers, many recycling centers are paying rent for a parking lot space behind the store. In some cases, they are paying $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 or more. It seems like the stores and property owners are making money off the beverage fund rather than providing convenience to consumers. How can we disallow rent payments for convenience recycling centers renting parking space?
Mr. Dunleavy, thanks for your question. I don't know that that's so much a question for the department, however, because that is not within our statutory authority to opine on the cost of running the recycling center. So I think actually at your position at Mings is probably better situated to opine on that and advise recycling centers who are renting from grocery lots.
There are no other comments.
So thank you to everyone who participated in our public comment, our public meeting today. And as we make our work and our communication accessible, inclusive, and as relevant as possible, we welcome your feedback through California's public comment portal. Have a great rest of your morning and week, and we will see you next month. Thanks.
Thank you, everybody. Much appreciated. Nice to see everybody.